got it here.
There we go.
Wonderful. So it's been a while since I've been on my YouTube channel. Actually, since the end of Reality Bites, which was the radio show. That was the name of the radio show. And Troy, the lovely Troy, who you see in front of me now, or above me, depending on how you're looking, basically, around my screen. So Troy was one of my guests on the radio show, and we've Troy actually comes from down my neck of the woods as well, which is lovely. He knows all my old hunting grounds, stomping grounds. So we've just stayed in contact and been doing loads of bits and pieces, and it's very interesting how the more you talk to someone, the more life unfolds for you in some curious ways. And I find having other people's perspectives on things, and Troy's obviously been helping me out with learning another system that we'll get into at some point, I'm sure, through these videos. But I've just chucked the subject matter at Troy today for this quick. We're going to call these 15-minute shorts. So 15 minutes hits of curious contemplation. And I've thrown the subject matter of intention. So, Troy, I'm going to let you start basically on wherever you want to go with this subject.
Um,
What does it mean to you, I suppose, to start with? Let's start with the meaning.
well, in intention is mysteriously what you intend, and I think it's probably a word which is misunderstood or abused, or certainly one that we've been disconnected from. Because if you look at the nature of the world and what and who we are within it, and where we are at the moment, one would say that. I doubt whether people have been taught or feel that their intention has really a great deal to do with ultimately what they do and where they go. Because often between what the maybe the objective of your intention or what you wish for is normally some form of blockage, or shall we call it authority or diversion or obligation. Now, if you look at sort of on say, so on the one hand, maybe we have pure intention, and on the other hand, maybe we have this idea that it's quite difficult to get there, and maybe you need to go and sit on the top of a mountain and sort of meditate and do all those sorts of things. Um, you're starting to get a really good idea of the sort of, should we say, the trap that we're in. And intention is as much a way out of the trap as it is a way of demonstrating to you that there is a trap. Um, so that probably doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It will make
Um,
sense. We're going to get to the sense at some point, as we
so I,
always do.
so my view on intention um, is is very much sort of when you get rid of all of these, should we say, these barriers or these blockages, you sort of start to glimpse how intention really works. And it's to the extent that when you've got a particularly maybe a difficult problem, or you can't see your way out of it, and you go to bed and you wake up in the morning and suddenly there it is, and it's so simple. Now, what it is, that's your pure intention, which has been able to operate out with and without any of these blockages that have effectively been formed. And you have, shall we say, created your reality. And that's the issue with intention, that intention creates your reality, although you do not really know it.
Which
And
is interesting. The blockages, the blockages. So blockages, as an example, could they be things like our social programming from
yeah, yeah.
when we were a child? What, if someone's watching the media constantly and they're bombarded with fear, that could be a block to your intention, or it could change your intention unwittingly into a different direction.
Yeah, it's difficult almost because then you start getting into high and low vibration and how you are diverted. There's a quote from Hamlet, and actually, if you start looking at Shakespeare and you look at particular quotations, you see that all of these things are expressed there, although not necessarily in the way that you might think.
Right.
So there's something that says there's a divinity that shapes our ends, rough hew them how we will. Now, we were taught that there's various interpretations of that in terms of predestination and all of that sort of thing. But when I was thinking about the idea of intention, and of course, and also the idea that you've got 2D, 3D, and 4D reality. And within a 4D reality, everything is happening at the same time. But also, that idea of divinity sits much better within a 4D reality than it does in a 3D reality. And for those who think, what on earth is he talking about? The 3D reality is this sort of rather pragmatic world
The
that we live in.
physical.
The nasty, you could almost say the nasty physical world, where life is nasty, hard, brutish, and short, I think was what Thomas Hobbes described it as. So it's really a case of going back to this question of divinity and going back to the question of who are we and who created us and what is the spark, should we call it the consciousness, the substance, or even the soul that sits within us, which is really us.
Yeah.
And that soul is divine because it is from the divine and is part of the divine. And if people don't like that, then I just suggest you sit there and start banging some rocks together and see how long it takes for you to create some form of conscious being. And I'll see you in 1 billion years. Okay? So there's something quite magical about the very act of you being created, but also all acts of creation. It's spring at the moment, and you see the bulbs and flowers coming up, and some of them are incredibly complex. And that's almost that's a demonstration of how intention has got being reflected within the physical reality. And the importance of intention, and you could call it if you're into New Age, which New Age is just a diversion of people away from their true selves, if you really want. But if you want to think of the words negativity and positivity, they are actually sort of pale sort of reflections or descriptions of intention. But intention is a really powerful thing because intention is creative. Intention comes from your divinity, and it allows you effectively to create your own reality. And that's the importance of intention. And I think in terms of the world that we live in, which I now frequently described as the world of woe, which if you've anyone who's read Paradise Lost, they'll know that there was a paradise where probably everyone knows this. But Eve ate of the apple, was deceived by the subtle serpent, and brought distance, discord, distaste into this world, and brought into this world a world of woe. So we actually live in heaven, but it's been overlaid with a world of woe. And the world of woe is what prevents your intention from manifesting a sort of, should we say, a paradisical outcome.
Sorry. Well,
And
that,
what you were saying before, Wendy, about fear and all of these things, which are just conveniently programmed into you. I mean, and they don't mean to do it, do they? I mean,
of
the
course
people who
not,
run
Troy.
the TV and the government and all of that sort of thing, they don't mean to make you feel like that.
No.
They don't mean to lead with a story about council tax now going up by 10% and no one's only got any more money and isn't it awful? And meanwhile, there's flash to pictures of the Ukraine war, which looks remarkably like the Balkans war, and all the tanks are rusty and everything. But let's leaving that one side. Let's quickly move on to other terrible things like trade war and nasty Russians and isn't it terrible? And now we've got other nasty things happening. And you remember in the old days at the end of the news at 10, they always used to have and finally, and there'd be like a little dog had got lost in the middle of
That's
nowhere
it.
or
And someone
something.
found it. Yeah, Lassie down the
Yeah.
well or something. Yeah.
And it's almost you don't even get that anymore. You don't. Well, you do get the fun item. I think there's isn't there a bear that's had brain surgery or something like
Oh, you know what,
that?
Troy? I rarely watch the programming box. as in that type of stuff. So I was round with my
It
dad.
was,
Well, I was round with my
it was,
dad the other day actually, and it was really funny because he went, my dad's pretty, I would say he's very aware of a lot of things. He still likes to watch the news though, and it's hysterical because he'll sit there and
yeah.
say this is all a big load of rubbish, right? But he's watching it, and he went, "Oh, I just want to catch the news because there's two tankers had crashed into each other," and I'm like, "How the hell can two tankers in this day and age crash into each other? Come on, seriously." And we were just watching it
Do
like,
you think it was deliberate
"Oh,
by any
never,
chance?
never, Troy, never would I ever think anything is
Shock,
deliberate." Um,
shock, horror, fears of pollution
yes,
after two tankers with because you know what happened. You know they used to have radars and sophisticated electronic equipment,
yeah, they
but
obviously
they
don't
don't
have those
have that
nowadays.
anymore. They
That's
had some little lad, some little midshipman was on the front, and he
yeah,
fell asleep.
that's
Fell
it.
asleep, he did,
Yeah,
and this half a mile long tanker ran into another half a
half a
mile
mile
long
long tanker. Yeah,
tanker. I mean,
it's
if people really think about it, the absolute nonsense that people will believe. And to bring it back to the subject of intention,
intention.
it shows you how your intention is being diverted and perverted. And it's very powerful. So
Massively,
if you
because if
can,
everybody's living in fear, we'll do another one on vibration and frequency and stuff because we've got so many little packets of information to share. The intention though, if you're doing your best to create on a daily basis and you're watching stuff like that and you're paying attention to where your focus is going and your energy is going to all the, like you say, the woe, how are you ever going to create? How are you ever going to put your intention in a pure place to create? It's like battling through soup, isn't it?
yeah,
To try and get to
and
where
it's
you want to
hard.
be.
Yeah, the paying attention, we were saying, weren't we? That you'll wake up in the morning and suddenly the day's gone.
Yeah,
What
we
was
said
I
that when we got
paying
on it.
attention to?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but the day's gone, and attention and intention sort of go together. And people, it's not that people are waking up in the morning thinking, "Oh, I'm all fearful, therefore I'm going to manifest rubbish today." No, no one does that. You're sort of caught up. You might remember it. Oh, yeah, I need to have positive intention, pay attention, and within 10 minutes you will have forgotten because the phone would have rung, something would have happened. And that's interesting. All of the distractions that you have, all of the noise, all of the, shall we say, the obligations that you've taken on, particularly say, if, mothers with young children. Um, you've got to take them, you've got to get them ready, take them to school, make sure they're okay, go home, perform a taxi service, run around. And my wife used to work as well and do all of those things when our children were younger. And it's a bit like, and it had to be automatic. So you're not ever, I think, well, the word is time to yourself. When do you get time to yourself? Time to just breathe deeply and almost do nothing. You
Create.
think, oh, I'll watch a bit of telly now.
Yeah, rather than like you say, sit within yourself. So let's give our viewers something to take away then so they can start with paying more attention to their intention.
Well, I think you reap what you sow. So your intention is what you are sowing. And your intention, if your intentions are good, you will reap well. And if your intentions are probably, I wouldn't say bad, but if your intentions are without attention, then you don't know what you're going to reap. And it certainly, almost certainly won't be what you want
So
or what you
as a
really want.
so as a start point then, would you say it's fair enough that we could suggest to people to when they wake up in the morning, the first thing to kick themselves out of their program would be just to sit for 5 minutes and set some form of decent intention for the day? And then check in when they get home or the day is finished. Did they achieve any of that? And what the distractions were that took them away from it or helped them achieve it?
Yeah. I think get into the habit of paying attention first,
So pay
because
attention first.
pay attention first. So I think there's a book by Aldous Huxley called Ireland, and there's a parrot or parrots on the island, and they just sit there squawking, "Pay attention." So, and the reason why this is because you're absolutely right, and if you pay attention in that moment, you can have intention. And there's a great phrase that people are about as happy as they've made up their minds to be.
Interesting. I like that.
And if you're feeling if you're whizzing around, like the bailiffs are at the door, there are there's so much woe in this world.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention and in a moment you can say, I am going to have the intention of not necessarily feeling good, but I'm just not going to get drawn down into this. I'm going to pay attention and keep my feet on the ground and just deal with it. And you can make yourself feel better. And it's not a false make yourself feel better, like that glass of wine and
Yeah.
cigarette, which you didn't want to have.
No.
It's real. And you realize that you have the ability, if it's only for 10 seconds, to make yourself feel the way you want to feel and start doing. And there's a book called Being Happy. I don't know if anyone's ever
I've not read
seen
it.
that. It's very good. But from that, I remember years ago reading it and it said, if you think you are a certain way, you will find that other people will start to treat you like that.
That way.
Now it's the sort of trick that really crap, pointy shoes, I'm going to go on the apprentice salesman type people use. But there is actually truth in it. But it's more important that, you what do they say? You get the life you deserve. For the
And it's
life that
working
deserve.
out what you deserve on the inside yourself. What do you this comes down to, we'll get into programming videos, but this comes down to
And,
working
and
out your programming. Yeah.
and that's your intention that you set. That's why they say have a storyboard or at least write it down. You can put it in a desk, but you're sort of, hate this word, manifesting the intention,
Yeah.
but you're paying attention to it, not getting it lost. You're not saying, oh, when you're 80, oh, I remember I really wanted to do that when I was 6, and you just find something. And although it's never too late, there's 74 years of missed opportunity, probably because you were paying attention. And actually, these things aren't simple, but you've probably paid attention to the wrong things rather than the right things. And behind that sits your intention, and in front of that sits your intention. And it's all
So
about attention.
so it's paying attention. So the first thing we're going to get you guys to do is literally just start paying attention. And
Yeah.
after you've paid attention, we can start setting intention. So we'll do another
Yeah.
video, Troy, on setting intention.
Oh
That'll
yeah.
be,
I don't know. I
that'll,
make all this up as I go along, you
that's all right.
see.
Same
So
here.
that's
We've
going to be mine.
pretty much what the radio show was for 2 years, wasn't it? Really, just
Yeah.
that's my life. Make it up as you go
Yeah.
along.
Well, that's what people said about you. Yeah.
Yeah, just I make it up as I go along. I pretty much. My dad says she drives around the country in a flash car chatting shit for a living. So, you know, pretty much my life. But guys, if you've got any questions or comments or anything, leave them on this video. We'll always get back to you. And if you've got any suggestions for anything you want us to talk about as well, because we'll cover pretty much any subject. But we're going to start unpacking all of this over the next few weeks. We're going to lead into we have intention behind this for what
Yeah.
we're doing and what we want to share. So hope you've enjoyed that. Make sure you're paying attention to when you wake up, to when you're going out, to what you're thinking, to what just everything in life. Just start becoming more attentive to you, and then you can make change. Troy, anything to add before I stop the recording?
No, just that it's if this was easy, then everyone would be doing it. And
100%.
so just give it a go and see if it works. And it does, but Just
you've
give
got to
it a
have a go.
go, and see how difficult it is, actually.
Massively different. This is the just to finish on personal development. So everybody wants a quick fix in life.
Yeah.
Life is a daily experience where you just have to go again, and that's where you learn. So pay attention, people, and Troy and I will be back again in the very near future. Thank you, Troy.
Cheers.